Welcome to Coach Fireside Chat, the podcast where we strip away the glamour and get straight to the heart of coaching. No scripts, no filters, just honest, raw conversations with coaches who are out there making a real impact. I'm Karl Sandland, your host and growth strategist for coaches. I work with coaches to help them build, scale, and create lasting impact in the industry. And in this podcast, I sit down with experienced coaches to deep dive into their journey, their struggles, their breakthroughs, and their unfiltered take on what it really means to be a coach. Whether you're an aspiring coach looking to grow your practice, or you're searching for the right coach to support your personal or professional transformation, this podcast is for you. Real talk about the coaching world from those who are doing the work and changing lives. So grab a seat by the fire and let's get into it. Welcome back to Coach Fireside Chat, the raw, real talk podcast where we cut through the noise and get under the skin of what actually bloody well works in business. I'm your host, Karl Sandland, tech simplifier, system strategist, and the guy who's always asking, yeah, but is that actually going to work in the real world? Today's guest is an absolute legend. He's a Guinness World Record holder, Channel 4 regular, and relatable online business strategist, known for helping everyday people turn their skills, their story, or passion into a scalable online income. With over 15 years hands-on experience and thousands of people now supported via his podcast coaching services and online membership, Success School, Matt's mission is to make business clear, accessible, and achievable for everyone, especially those in the early stages of their journey. His speciality lies in helping people create and launch digital offers, like courses, memberships, even if they don't have a big audience and don't have a tech background. His approach is practical, step-by-step, and designed to build confidence as well as income. In addition to Matt's mission, he recently gained national attention after appearing on E4's reality TV show Love Triangle, where he earned the affections of viewers who really felt for the nice guy who ended up unlucky in love, as well as previously being known for sharing his views as a regular lunchmate panelist for 18 months, appearing on Channel 4's daytime TV show Steph's Packed Lunch. As a business strategist, Matt brings warmth, humor, and a no BS style that resonates deeply with aspiring entrepreneurs who are ready to finally start making the impact they desire. So if you're looking for clarity, confidence, and a simple strategy to get your business working, Matt is absolutely your guy. And in today's episode, we're going to be chatting about what actually matters when starting an online business, how to grow your audience without dancing like a fool on TikTok, why memberships and digital offers are a game changer that most people overlook, and how to keep it simple, strategic, and sustainable. So buckle up. This one is absolutely going to be packed with gold dust. Let's get into it. Welcome, Matt.
Yo, that was what an introduction that was. That ain't me, is it? Have I done that? It sounds much better than my actual life. I'm way more boring. And actually, I think we need to update it because I don't think I can say I'm a Guinness World Record holder anymore because someone else has broke the bloody record. So I can say I'm a record breaker, but not current holder. So I'm a bit gutted about that.
Or you could just go for it again.
It's crossed my mind. I've thought, breaking a Guinness World Record takes quite a lot from you. So it's not something I take lightly, but maybe one day I would be up for stealing back the crown, to be fair.
I think you should, Matt. I think you should. And listen, it's fantastic to have you on the show. Thank you so much for agreeing to come on. I've been following you for a while and thought, yeah, I've got to get Matt on here, share some insights on business building, which is perfect for coaches this show is aimed at. Before we get into that, though, just on that point of the Guinness World Record, explain to the viewers, the listeners, what your record was for and how the hell you even prepared for it, went about it, and carried it out.
So the record is for the longest live audio only stream. So in a nutshell, we basically just did non-stop podcasting for, I think in the end, it was over 53 hours. I think it's a few years ago now. And there's something that Tony Robbins talks about, which is called the success cycle, that a lot of people that listen might be familiar with. And it's this idea that, when you start taking massive action, you start getting massive results. And what that does is start to increase your belief in your potential. And ultimately, that's what happened when we started our podcast back in, I think it was 2018, 2019. We had no evidence to say that it's going to be a good podcast or that we'd get great guests or anything like that. But we just had this belief and had this attitude of why not? Why not us? And because we had that attitude, we then just took massive action, got massive results. So basically, a year later, we'd been in the top charts of the overall Apple podcasts. And I mean like the overall Apple podcast, which is quite an achievement. And we'd really pushed to get that. I think we got to number 21, something like that. So we were literally in front of people like Tony Robbins. I remember it very fondly when we launched. I was like, yes, get in. I was like, Tony, who's Tony? Because we were
Did you take a screenshot? You took a screenshot of the listing.
Of course, the screenshots are everywhere. So we launched really strong. We had some great guests early on. We got some great feedback. And around that time, I then started coaching people and helping people. So when it came to the 1-year anniversary of that podcast, I said to my cousin who was working on the show with me at the time, I just said, I want to do something that nobody in the world's done. I was like, why not? Like, that's what we're all about, is inspiring others by leading the way, by saying, look, a couple of lads from Bradford, no experience in podcasting. Why not become a world record breaking podcast? So we just looked into it. And yeah, long story short, we broke that Guinness World Record. In terms of preparing for it, I guess one of the things is we thought about energy peaks and troughs. And so one thing we did do is we decided to be fasted for as long as possible. So we didn't eat anything, because we knew that when you start them eating food and breaking that food down in the body, and a process starts that then affects your energy, right? So that was something we were mindful of. So I think we started the record attempt at 8 a.m. on a Friday, and we started the podcast. And I think we just drank water. We had no caffeine or anything like that, or fizzy drinks. We just drank water. And then I think from memory, it was about 10 o'clock at night, we had our first bit of food. And we decided to just have I think we had a chicken breast and some broccoli or something. So there was no sugars or carbohydrates, So we were just sort of mindful to be smart like that. And yeah, what an amazing achievement. We raised thousands of pounds for charity as well. And it was such a crazy experience. I think it's when you get to the second night of not going to bed, and it's 3 a.m. And it's like 3 a.m. is a weird time to be up anyway, but this is the second night on a road that we've done this. It was the weird, it was as if we were drunk, because your brain's just acting odd and you find silly things funny. And we were laughing uncontrollably at times. So it was a really fun experience.
It sounds absolutely crazy. I mean, you're from a bit of a fitness background anyway, aren't you? So I guess the fasting and the being careful with taking in carbs was probably, for you, it's probably something that you're used to doing. For me, that would be the end of the world. That would be the exact reason that I would not be able to do such a challenge.
Just straight away, I'm out. It's not for me.
Yeah, I'm out. What, I can't drink? No caffeine?
Yeah. We had to have that discipline. But that was part of the challenge, right? And I think that's one thing that attracted me to it is pushing myself to be like, let's prove. I just believe human beings are actually really resilient and capable and able. And often it's comfort that holds us back, right? Because life quite often in a modern world where we've got the internet and heating and all the rest of it that most of us are so lucky to have in the Western world, I just think we don't push ourselves until we have to sometimes. I've always said things like when there was the pandemic and lockdown and things like that, overnight people didn't have a job and didn't have certainty. And there were people that for years wanted to leave that job. But because, it was paying the bills and it was going all right, they just stay there. And then suddenly, boom, it's gone. Suddenly they find the resilience to get out there and make it work. And there were so many success stories. And I think you can say this to any area of life. When you look at, people stay in relationships they don't want to be in for years, and they know it's not bringing them fulfillment and happiness. And then that partner walks out on them, and suddenly they're fine. They well, not fine, but maybe it takes a while and it's a process, but they find the strength to get over it and move forward. And I just think that's one of those examples of, rather than waiting to be challenged, like, push yourself, prove to yourself what you are capable of. And honestly, it's one of the most fulfilling, rewarding, amazing experiences of my life.
You're absolutely right about pushing, the comfort zone. You find a way. I mean, is anybody ever ready for having children? Probably not. But when it does happen, especially by accident, then you'll find a way. You cope.
Find a way, right?
Losing a job, you find a way. I've had redundancy a couple of times. Before I set my business up, I just thought, you know what? I've got this. You find a way.
I'm a big believer in a lot of like what I do in my content, in just trying to help people tap into that, because it's within us all, that ability, that strength, that resilience. It is within us. And rather than waiting for things to get bad, I really want to try and encourage people to bring that strength out and bring that resilience out, so that you don't have to wait for it to get terrible.
Absolutely. So your Guinness World Record, which you need to try again for, you need to get back.
All right. Okay.
Your appearance on Love Triangle, Steph's Packed Lunch, how has that exposure helped you in your business?
I think the Guinness World Record's great because it stands for what we stand for in my business. Success School is about ultimately living a life of fulfillment, and it's about pushing yourself to achieve your potential. So the Guinness World Record just kind of embodies that as a thing we did, I guess. The TV stuff, do you know, I honestly think, in particular, Love Triangle, for those who don't know, it was just a trashy reality TV show by the same producers as Married at First Sight. And if you know that show, you'll have an idea of what to expect from Love Triangle, which is
trashy, but probably with a fair few million viewers, Matt.
yeah, that enjoy just watching the downfall of other people, basically. So I think with what I do, I help what I consider ordinary people. And the reason I use that phrase is because I think for a lot of us, when we see people achieving success, we don't identify with that quite often. We think, oh, well, that's okay for them because they are, and then insert whatever excuse, lucky or talented or better looking or whatever. So that's why I say ordinary people. I believe none of us are ordinary. We're all weird and wonderful in our own way. But basically, I help ordinary people make money online and build businesses. And when you have been on reality TV and maybe got people following you from that, I think it makes people think, oh, well, it's okay for Matt because he got a following because of that. And it gives them that false impression that that's really helped me. And the truth is, and I want people to know this, if anything, I think it probably does more harm than good. Because what you end up with is a lot of people following you on social media who are not your ideal clients. Like, a lot of them follow me because they just kind of like me on the TV show. I don't know, maybe some of them fancied me, whatever. They're not interested, a lot of them, in making money online. That's not the reason they follow my account. And I actually did a post a few months back. I think I had this is on Instagram, I think I had about 17.8 thousand followers, something like that at the time. And we put out a carousel. Beth, who helps me with my social media, created this brilliant carousel, very controversial, divided a lot of people, which basically said, stop following me. I want you to unfollow me. We got a lot of flack. What we were saying is, if you're not interested in what I'm putting out there now, my mission is to really help people. But what you're doing by not engaging with my content, you're sending a signal to Instagram that says this is rubbish content. So then you're limiting my reach. It's not reaching probably people that would find it valuable, because the first people it's showing it to are people that know me from Love Triangle or whatever, and they're not engaging. So we were deadly serious, and we saw when we put that post out, we dropped 100 followers, we dropped another 100, like people were just unfollowing. I think we got down to like 17.2 thousand. So this is a few months ago. Now, at the time of recording, I've got 18.3 thousand. And the last few months since we did that, we've been proactively growing the audience full of ideal clients. And my business has never been as successful. We're making more money in our business than we've ever made. So it was a real strategic, play that we had. But I kind of did that to prove a point to people as well, to say, look, it's actually not useful in business terms, yeah, it would. Look, if I just wanted to be an influencer selling teeth whitening or, whatever, just playing that popularity vanity metrics game, yeah, sure, you might be able to get brand deals, whatever. But I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in doing something that feels really meaningful, fulfilling, and that I'm passionate about. And for me to do that, I need to be clear on my ideal client and make sure that I'm attracting them and speaking directly to them. So I know that's maybe a little bit of a long way of answering your question, but I think it's important that people, it's that thing of what something looks like from the outside isn't necessarily what it is. And I've got friends that have done well in TV and they've got huge followings and things like that, but they struggle to make money out of it. And that's the thing. Don't just think, oh, well, it's all right for them. Usually it's actually can be in some cases more difficult for them to grow a proper business.
So it can actually become like a poison chalice in a way, as you said, because you had to do a little bit of a cull. Interesting, because again, until you'd explained that and pointed that out, I would have thought the complete opposite. I'd have thought, well, any exposure is great. But no, you're absolutely right. If it's not your ideal client, and look, this is what it's about with online business, isn't it? About getting in front of the ideal client's eyes, not just getting in front of everybody's eyes. So as far as confidence, though, it must have given you some confidence. You hear a lot of people who are trying to start off in business who are not confident on camera, or they're introverted, they're not very good at networking. It must have helped from that perspective, though, right?
Well, I started attending like performing arts classes and stuff since I was 8 years old. My first company that I started when I was 19 was around live entertainment, function bands, and I was performing in a tribute act for years for my own company. So kind of getting in front of audiences and being on stage is something that I'm quite familiar with. And it is, I think, a transferable skill that has been really, really valuable to business, to marketing, to building a personal brand. So, I mean, if anyone watched Love Triangle, they'll probably see it was potentially the least confident I've ever been. Like, it was a very difficult time for me filming that. I found it, I was very vulnerable in that scenario, and I don't think people realize and understand it unless they've done something like reality TV. But that thing of filming something for weeks and weeks where you don't know day by day what's going to happen next, what they're going to throw up at you. You've got no contact with your outside world, so your friends, your family. You're not doing your normal work. You're just literally filming a show every day. And when you get dropped a bombshell, something you weren't expecting, something that's difficult to deal with, in real life, you'd maybe distract yourself by going to work, or you'd speak to your family and your friends who understand you and they've been there for all your life and they know how to help you through it. And you don't have that when you're filming a show like that. You haven't got the internet or social media or anything. And I actually struggled more than I thought I would. And I've always said I don't regret things. I believe there's lessons and they make us stronger, they make us better. When I finished filming that and I went home and I remember speaking to my parents, I said, this might be something I actually regret. I said, it's been a really tough experience and I've really struggled. So again, it's maybe the opposite. It kind of dented my confidence. And I kind of thought, what's going to happen when it comes out? I don't know how they're going to edit it, because you've got no idea. Like, if they want to try and twist things, they can in the edit. So I actually really struggled with it. And I had a bit of I had a little bit of an identity crisis. Like, who am I to coach people and help people on mindset? And when I struggled so much then on national TV, and I really struggled actually. But anyway, look, it was an experience, and I am, as it turns out, still grateful for it. Time is a wonderful healer and all that kind of stuff.
Lessons to be learned from everything.
Look, there was lessons to learn, definitely. But in terms of confidence, showing up and being authentic, I know that is something people do struggle a lot with. And it is something that is so fundamental to building a personal brand and therefore a business, aligned with that personal brand. And I think it's a process. And I think you don't get confidence from wanting confidence. You get confidence from doing the stuff you're not confident doing and doing it repeatedly. And that's one piece of advice I would give to anybody. If you know you need to start showing up more online, get yourself on podcasts, go on Facebook Live, speak on your stories, whatever. My advice is start to be okay with being crap, because it's that thing of needing to be great that stops you doing it. And there's something I want people to remember, which is courage is what builds confidence. And courage and confidence, people think they're the same thing. They're not. Courage is when you have fear and you don't have certainty and you don't have confidence, but you still do it anyway. And that's what I would say to people. If you struggle with confidence, just have the courage to do it and be okay with not being brilliant at it, but keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it. And over time, from having that courage to keep showing up, you will build the capabilities, you will build the skill set that then provides the evidence to go, actually, I'm all right at this. And that's what breeds confidence. So that's almost like a bit of a formula, the 3 C's, courage creates capability, and capability is what creates confidence. And the other thing I say about confidence is something you earn, but you don't get to keep. And what I mean by that is I like to say it's kind of a great example that everyone understands is like sculpting your body. Like, if you want to get fitter or stronger or lose body fat, you have to consistently be eating the right amount of foods, doing a certain level of exercise. Like, there's actions you need to take in alignment with that physical change. And if you do that consistently, guess what? Your body will start to change. But then if you stop doing the workouts and you stop eating that food and you start eating differently, then you'll lose that result. Confidence is the same. If you are consistently doing the things, pushing yourself to build those capabilities, having that courage, confidence will be there. If you then stop doing those things, you get comfortable, you take the foot off the gas, you start doing what's easier, you'll lose confidence again. So that's another thing I think that's really useful to remember with confidence.
It is like a muscle, isn't it? Like you say, you've got to keep training it. You've got to keep putting yourself in that uncomfortable situation. In effect, and I know it's a bit of a cliche term, but you've got to start feeling comfortable with being uncomfortable if you want to push, drive, and grow. So confidence is one part of setting up a business. A lot of people, it's just not for me. I couldn't do it. I couldn't run my own business. But it's not the only thing. I mean, even with online business, it can still be really confusing and inaccessible to so many people, or so they tell themselves. In your opinion, with your expertise, what would you say to somebody who says, oh, well, I could never do that. I could never have my own online business, who doubted themselves?
I would say that opinion has been based on your surroundings. So what experiences you've had, what other people around you have shown you is possible or not possible. So I think I always say self-development comes from self-awareness. It starts with being more mindful and aware of where are those beliefs coming from, and just challenge those beliefs and just go, well, is that actually true? A lot of us will create these beliefs. Usually, a lot of therapists will speak about your first 7 to 8 years of your life is where they're the years that really form your opinions, your values, your beliefs, that often run the show for the rest of our lives. So it's just coming back to going, oh, I know why I think like that. It's because when I was 8 years old, we really struggled to make money. And my understanding of making money was you had to get a job and you had to work really hard. Just by starting to become more aware of these beliefs and where they've come from, you can then start to challenge them, and you can look for counter evidence that can start to shift those beliefs. When you go, well, actually, there's somebody else who came from Bradford who did go on to do X, Y, and Z, and they weren't any more talented or special or whatever. And you can start to look for that counter evidence and start to change that belief. There's something that Stephen Bartlett speaks about, and I just love this example. I love sharing it because it's really good. It's a little bit extreme, so bear with me. But he talks about changing beliefs, and what he speaks about is basically it's not enough to just look yourself in the mirror and say, I am great, I am brilliant, I am successful, I can build a business, and say these affirmations. I think they can have a small part in helping people, but really they're not going to change your beliefs. And the way that he explains it is he says, imagine a terrorist walks in right now and they grab, I know I told you it was extreme, sorry. Trigger warning, it's not real, it's just a story. Everybody calm down, just joking. It's not real. We're just making a point. So he says, imagine a terrorist walks in and they grab the person you love the most and they hold them at gunpoint and they say, unless you believe I am Jesus Christ, I'm going to blow their brains out, I'm going to kill them. And the way that he explains the story is he says, basically, your loved one is going to die because you are screwed because you don't believe they're Jesus Christ.
You can't force a belief.
You can't force it. At best, you could lie. Be like, yeah, I believe you. Like, it's Jesus. Don't do it, right? But you're lying. You're lying to them and you're lying to yourself. He says, but then let's say that quote-unquote terrorist right in front of your eyes grab some water, and you see them turn it into wine. And then, I don't know what else Jesus did, walks on water or whatever the other stuff is, you start to go, hang on a minute, is this Jesus trying to test me here? You're pretending to be a terrorist, right? I think you're Jesus. The belief starts to shift. And I think that's the key thing. We've been conditioned, all of us, based on our surroundings and our environments and other people's values and beliefs, and we keep seeing evidence time and time again that maybe backs up that belief. If we can start to see counter evidence, we can start to go, actually, maybe it is possible. Maybe I could become one of those people. So it's about finding the role models, the mentors, the coaches, the examples of people where you have maybe some similarities or you resonate with them in some way, and they've gone on to do the thing that you don't believe is possible, because they will start to prove to you, well, actually, it is possible.
I think a lot of time people stop looking for evidence, don't they? Because they have a belief that's nestled into their belief system, and they feel safe with that. They understand that. They'll actually stop looking for evidence, even when evidence is right in front of them that is completely opposite to what they believe and what they think. So yes, absolutely find other people who can show the evidence, but look for it yourself as well. It's about presence and awareness. I used to have this exercise where I'd take the dogs out for a walk, and I would challenge myself to finding 5 new things on that dog walk that I had never seen before.
Beautiful.
Stupid things, the TV aerial on a particular chimney, or looking at the colour of certain bricks on a wall, or looking where the damp course was in the wall. Just random weird shit, but stuff I hadn't noticed before, to try and make myself capable of becoming more aware, more inquisitive, asking questions, because then you're going to be able to be a lot more equipped for looking for new evidence, right?
100%. I mean, this is what I've always said, is that like self-development is the core of business development, because if you are not the person that can execute on the strategy, then the business will not grow. So I often say to people, business is actually pretty simple. It's people that make it complex, because it's all the stuff we're talking about, and they've got these limiting beliefs, these fear of judgment, these, whatever it may be, money mindset issues. It's the people that make it complex. Strategy and business is relatively predictable and relatively simple if you understand that. So I think that's why at the core of it, anybody that's serious about success, whether that's in business or not, I think everything needs to be underpinned by a willingness to be doing self-development work, doing the self-awareness and the inner work, the deep work, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. And possibly one of the first things, or the foundational things, that they should be thinking about when they're setting up a business, as in, am I mentally ready for this? Do I have the right tools, the right mindset, the right framing of what I'm trying to achieve? Because you see it all the time, don't you? See people selling strategies, lead magnets, do this course, and there are so many people who necessarily then don't carry it through because they're just not in the right space. They're not thinking about it correctly, and it doesn't matter whether you give them the strategy or not. If they're not built to actually carry that through and they're not thinking about it in the right way, they're not going to.
Yeah, and that's a tricky one, because how do you know that you're built to do it or not until you try? So I think that's important. You've got to give stuff a go. And, if you are struggling, reach out for help. Look at how can you get some support? How can you get accountability? Can you invest in coaches, one-to-one, whatever? But I think, there's a phrase that I've said for years, which is learn through doing. I'm not a big fan of what I call shelf development, which is where we're just reading books, doing courses, listening to podcasts on repeat, and just, as I said, developing the shelf rather than yourself. Like you genuinely grow and develop through action, through experience. That's where we learn the most. You find the kind of chinks in your armor through that. You go, oh, actually, I do need to work on my resilience or my risk appetite or my self-belief. But there's nothing better to hold a mirror up to those challenges and those quote-unquote weaknesses we need to strengthen than giving it a go and trying to do it. Yeah. So I think that's really important. I just think that the thing I want people to be careful of is I don't want them to read into that and go, okay, well, I'm not ready. They'll never feel ready. I don't think anyone ever feels ready. You learn to become capable and able again through just giving it a go anyway.
Yeah, it's that courage, and it goes back to that confidence thing again, doesn't it? It's like, roughly where you want to head. Right, okay, we'll give that a go.
Yeah.
Reevaluate, test, repeat what worked, what didn't work. Okay, we'll go at it again this time, but we'll do this thing slightly differently. You know, it's
and the whole experience is ups, it's downs, it's messy, it's not linear. So I think just being all right with that and just going right and just, finding the fun in that. I think so many people put too much emphasis and joy and happiness on outcomes. Well, I'll be happy when it's making money or when we do X amount a month or X amount years or whatever. There's something I teach people which is focus on output, not outcome. And what that means is every day, are you taking action? Is your output in alignment with the life you want to create and the goals you want to achieve? And make that the value is the daily, what are we doing? And how are we feeling in the process? Can we find the fun and the madness in the difficult challenges rather than taking it so personal and emotional? I think that's when you really start to win.
100%. And that disassociating the you to the outcome as well is such an important point. I was speaking to one of my guests a couple of episodes ago about sales and disassociating yourself from the outcome of the sale. And she blew my mind a little bit because one of the things she said was a lot of people don't enjoy sales and they hate it. And it's the fact that they're in some way going to get rejected. Either them or their product is in some way going to get rejected. And that's judgment. And no one likes to be told the shit, right? But if you turned around and said to somebody who feels like that, I'm telling you now, you've got to get 25 no's before you get a yes. How quickly are you going to work to get those no's? And how different are those no's going to feel when actually you know they're just a step to getting the yes?
Just numbers. It's just numbers. And it's interesting at sales. I've always been a bit like that. You know what you were saying there about that fear of rejection and so on. But I think the more part of the success in sales for me is number one, making sure you're attracting ideal clients. Going back to what we were speaking about earlier, if you're constantly selling to the wrong people, it ain't going to work. And number two, what I teach people is to create what I call a no-brainer, irresistible offer. And when you believe in what you do so much and you're speaking to the people who need what you do, selling becomes such a joy. It's not sales. It's just like, oh my God, like, I had a voice note just before this, a lady who's reached out and I'm asking her questions and sort of saying, tell me more. Because she was just like, I think I need a coach. I'm just thinking in my head, oh my God, I know that, I understand that, I get that. And I'm excited. Like, I'm just like, just say yes, just work with me because I'm excited to work with you. It's such a different feeling to go in like, I need to prove myself. I need to sell. And I think maybe for some people, myself included, that takes time to get there. It's a process, but yeah, when you're attracting the right people and you can deliver and your offer is a no-brainer for the right people, sales is such fun.
It's certainly a lot easier. I used to struggle immensely, but then when I boiled it down, it was actually just I didn't really trust what I was saying and doing, and I wasn't linked to it enough. I didn't believe it enough myself. I was almost trying to prove it to myself it's going to work, and that's never going to be a good conversation with somebody, right?
And I think a lot of people do that, actually. I think that's the thing that makes sales such an issue. I often say, like, I don't call it sales calls. When we've got a launch or we've got something out, we just say, look, if you want to have a chat, figure out if this is the right thing for you or not, we can have a chat. And it genuinely is that. It's not, let me close this lead like all these sales mentors speak of. It's let me try and figure out, is this really the right thing for them? Are they really right for what we deliver? And so it's more me asking them questions to really ascertain if this is a good match, genuinely. And then when I recognize it is, I'm like, oh my God, this is so exciting. We've found somebody that we know we can help. And that's how I feel. And I think unless you feel like that, sales will be a struggle.
100%. So we've mentioned audience a couple of times. So we mentioned about your bit of a call of your audience and having the right people, having the right eyes in front of what you're doing. But one of the key things that I think you advocate for really is the fact that you don't need a huge audience, really, do you, to start making money? Surely it's just about the right audience.
Yeah, if you're going to go more higher ticket, you definitely don't need a huge audience to make great money either. But if you want to kind of scale, then over time, we build that audience, and audience growth is a big part of what I teach and what I help people with. But I think a lot of us seen social media over the years with these influencers with 5 million followers. And I think so many people believe that, well, I don't have anywhere near that, so how would I ever make money? And actually, just having 300 followers who are your ideal clients, who resonate with your message, your mission, your vision, your ethos, your personality, you can make a lot of money and a real positive impact. And we forget, I think you've probably seen, and most people have probably seen these social media posts about like where somebody goes, oh, I only got 300 views, and then it shows a room with 300 people in it. Or, it only got 1,000, and then it shows a theatre full of 1,000 people. I think we've lost a little bit of perspective over those numbers. And rather than thinking we need tens of thousands of followers or whatever, really engaging with a handful of the right people is enough to start making great money from your business.
It's a good reason for having a community, right? A Facebook group or your community in your own platform, even if it's a free one that then becomes an offer that you upsell from. That in itself, capturing your ideal audience, bringing them into one place and then delivering value is so much better, I think, at times than just post after post after post. And don't get me wrong, I do post on social media, but within my community, I had a couple of my clients saying, look, I've been posting a couple of times a week and I'm only getting less than 10 likes, maybe a couple of comments, doesn't seem to be making an impact. But at the same time, we were tracking their homepage stats, their funnel stats, their landing page stats. And it was like, oh, I'm not getting much interest. I'm not getting much interest at all. Nothing's really happening. And then we brought up their chart of the hits. And literally, it was like an exponential curve. It was like, well, you think you're not, but you're not taking into account what's happening behind the scenes. Just because someone doesn't click the like button doesn't mean they don't go and check out your site, go and read what's on your site. And then if your offer's good, it might still convert. You might get almost like a silent conversion.
Oh, yeah.
So don't worry too much about the stats on your Facebook post. That doesn't really matter too much.
Completely agree. I mean, there's so many people that won't engage with any content. I've had so many examples of people that have been like, they've sent me a voice note or a message and they're ready to buy there and then. And I'm like, I don't know who the hell this person is. I've never seen them. And they'll be like, I've been following, you really helped me in lockdown 4 or 5 years ago and I've been following your content ever since. I'm like, really? Could have bloody shown it, pal. But then they'll spend $5,000 or something. I'm like, all right, that's fine. So,
I forgive you.
I forgive you. Show me the money. So yeah, that's not a one-off thing. I've got multiple examples over the years of people that I would have never known I've been impacting in some way because they've not shown it. And the first time they reach out is because they've been consuming for long enough. They've made a decision. I need to work with Matt. And the first time I speak to them, they're paying me money.
I've got a few clients now in my membership where it's been exactly that. It's like, with the risk of sounding slightly rude, and who are you? How have you heard about me?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because quite often they're not even friends on social either. They've actually been referred in or they've seen something else, some other content elsewhere, like YouTube or something like that. Never subscribed, but still contacted based on that relationship that they sort of built with you, your persona, your content. It is very interesting. So yeah, don't get over obsessed over what we call the vanity metrics of your posts. Just keep showing up, keep doing, and things do make a difference. So offers. Let's talk very quickly then about offering or launching an offer, because there's lots of contradictory advice and information out there, isn't there, about running launches, not running launches, running webinars, not running webinars that sell at the end. What would be your advice?
My advice would be most strategies work if you stick to the strategy. So that's the key problem. I think people start a bit of a strategy, which is to launch something with a webinar with a pitch at the end. Then they see an ad a week into it saying, webinars don't work, you shouldn't pitch. So then they go and start that strategy, and then they see something else halfway through that. So I honestly believe, look, most of what you see online is just people trying to stand out and market what they do to get your attention. So they're trying all these different things. Funnels are dead and all this kind of stuff. Look, the bottom line is, if you're visible online in front of your ideal client, you put something out there that speaks to them, that gives them an opportunity to try before they buy some kind of freebie, a free challenge, a free masterclass, a free webinar, a free workshop, summit, whatever. And at the end of it, you've got a really good offer. People are going to buy, right? So we can say this doesn't work, that doesn't work. What doesn't work is you not being good at executing on a strategy. That's it. As long as you stick to the strategy and you do it and you follow all those steps, you're going to get results. And then you're going to improve and you're going to build and you're going to get bigger results over time. I genuinely believe this. It's never been easier to make money. I really believe that. We've got artificial intelligence that does half the bloody work for us now. It's just never been easier. However, the reason I think so many people are struggling and overwhelmed is because there's so many people saying so much that they just flit around and they dip their toe in this strategy, they dip their toe in that strategy, and they just don't stick to one. So that's one of the best pieces of advice I feel to give people is do your due diligence, check this person out. You know, what are people saying about them? What's their reputation? And if you can see that they're a person that is quite well liked and respected and clearly getting results for people and clearly documenting that, just go with them and follow what they say and do it. What I generally teach is I teach launching. I teach having what I consider like a signature program that you do one solid launch, maybe a couple of solid launches a year that do what is called the heavy lifting. So what I mean by that is whatever your revenue goals are for the year, that one launch or two launches a year should do the majority of that revenue. Mm-hmm. And thinking of it strategically like that, you can then have a good 12-week plus process strategy that you follow to really maximize and deliver the best launch that you can. Some of my recent launches, I started working in this way less than a year ago. And the first launch we did just over £18,000 in revenue. That was October last year. We then relaunched that same program in April this year, and we did just over 42,000 in revenue. 4 weeks after that, I did a little mini launch and we did just short of £30,000 in revenue. That was in June this year. And at the time of recording just 2 weeks ago, it's a bit of a different launch. We relaunched the membership. So the revenue is way lower because it's very low ticket, but we got 111 people buy into a membership. And if they stay, that recurring revenue, who knows, they might be with us 5 years, 10 years. So the actual revenue of that launch, it's hard to say, to quantify. Launching works, free webinars work, free challenges work, good solid offers and pitches at the end work if you're bloody good at them and if you don't try and rush them and if you do them properly. So that's why it's really important to follow a strategy from people who are doing what it is you want to do.
Great advice. So in essence, stay in your lane.
Yes.
And go by the book. Go by the book.
Just do it. Yeah.
Just do it.
People, and it's this whole mentality of, I think people's attention spans are seemingly worse than ever. People's need for instant gratification and not having patience and not playing the long game. These are the things that are at fault, which comes back to my phrase from earlier. Business is simple. It's people that are making it complex. And it's that lack of patience and inability to stay focused. They're the problems.
Yeah. I think that the challenge I had when I first started out, it was, I was quite committed. I would follow a process, but then if it didn't go very well, that's the point at which I'd be thinking, oh, well, maybe this isn't the strategy for me then. And it's really hard then to go again with the same strategy or to know when trying a strategy is long enough before you then flip to something else. That's something I really struggled with. But what I found was that actually you need to give something a good 2 or 3 goes. You cannot judge success failure on one attempt, probably not even 2. You need the third to give you the average, right?
What I say to my clients is you need a good few months to prepare and do some audience growth work in that preparation time. I have 3 stages to my strategy, which is the 3 Ps. So the first P is the priming. The second phase is the promotion, which is your promotion for your free launch event, like the webinar or whatever. And then the third P is pitching. So that is where you're in the car open phase, where you're actually actively telling people about your offer. So that is something that I teach. So I'm not saying like I get them to rush that. But what I do say is, do you know what? Can we just kind of redefine what success is? And I say success is not hitting your revenue goals. Let's just say success is completing a launch, irrespective of the outcome. Because that is going to be the biggest teacher, is the experience of doing the launch, putting it into action, getting feedback. All that stuff will teach you so much more and make you so much wiser on how to launch well than just procrastinating and putting it off and saying, I'm not ready, I'm not ready, I'm not ready. That's what I say to people, just by redefining success and going, like, every week that you don't launch is failure, almost. Not quite, but you know what I mean? Like success is doing the launch, not having X amount revenue goals. Because what that does is it gets people in a position where they're okay. They don't fear it being a quote unquote flop. They actually know that by just completing a launch, I've been a success because now I've got all this data, this information, this experience to draw upon to now make my next launch even better. And the sooner people can think like that, the sooner they're going to start seeing success.
Absolutely. Great advice. Listen, Matt, we should not leave without at least mentioning Success School and what Success School is all about, how it works, how people can get in touch with you to sign up.
Success School is both my podcast, which you can listen to for free. Every single Wednesday, we put an episode out on YouTube, Spotify, Apple. We bring on some amazing guests and speak all around business, mindset, and what success actually is, because I believe it's subjective and I believe everyone has their own version of success. It's just a great show that I love making. We've got some amazing people on there, some well-known people on there, a complete range, to be honest. But the membership is where the real magic is. We are currently, at the time of recording, and I don't know if this will be the same when this goes out, but the doors are currently closed. We do only let people in at certain times of the year. We are reopening them mid-September, but they're only going to be open for a short space of time. And basically, we bring you the best of the best in business, in sales, marketing, personal branding, social media, networking, all these kind of stuff. We bring you some of the best experts. But I believe we're quite unique in the sense that we don't just do sessions where it's based on learning. We also have a mastermind session every month where the community comes together and can ask questions to each other and draw upon, you know, the experience of all the different people that are members in this membership. We've got nearly 200 in there at the moment, and that is just about to grow when we reopen the doors. So I believe there's a lot of value in just getting to know each other, you know, in the community. We also do action implementation sessions because I realized that a lot of memberships and a lot of courses, it's just like teaching, learning, another strategy. And I think that people are not struggling for strategy. They're struggling to action the strategy they already have. So we do those sessions every fortnight where you just come on Zoom and basically you almost get a bit of one-to-one coaching for the price of a membership, you know, rather than paying thousands of pounds for a mentor. For 35 quid a month, you've got the opportunity to go, this is what I'm not getting done. I'm struggling with this. You know, I said I'd get this done by then, but I haven't. What do you think I'm doing wrong? What do I need to change? And you also get to hear from everybody else what answers they get.
Challenges. Yeah.
So it's having that, and that's every 2 weeks. So you can set those little goals like, right, by the next session, I'm going to make sure I've got that done and I'm going to report it back. So there's that accountability angle. And then the other thing that's quite unique is included in your membership fee a few times throughout the year. We do in-person social events that are just there for networking, because I believe more than ever, as we grow online and artificial intelligence and all these amazing, incredible things, I think there's going to be more value in meeting up in person and building genuine relationships. I said it from day one when I started that first company when I was 19. I said that business is about people. It's about relationships. Full stop, the end. That is it at the heart of it. And I really think that the online world is brilliant, but I honestly believe it will never replicate the relationships that are built in person, when you actually are there, where you can't just eject yourself from Zoom and you've got to actually sit and chat to that person and you get someone's real aura and energy. That's where the real collaborations and opportunities come, I believe. So we've thrown that in as you don't have to pay any extra. There'll be multiple dates throughout the year, some in the north of England, some in the south, and we mix it up a little bit, all just as part of your 35 quid a month, basically. So it is a lot of value for not a lot of investment.
It's an insane amount of value. I'm also in Success School as a member.
You are, yeah. How are you finding it? You tell us.
Well, I've been in there only two weeks, something like that, and the value that is in there and the exposure to the sessions, what's in there, it's absolutely fantastic, Matt. Absolutely fantastic, and the guests. I'll
pay you afterwards, pal. Thank you very much.
Honestly, genuinely, stuff that you would normally have to pay $1,000 for. So, please do go and check Matt out. Go and check out Success School. I'll make sure the links are in the show notes. As Matt said, it depends when you're listening to this, but he does open the new influx of membership, and then it closes again. So you may end up applying at the right time. You may end up having to go onto the wait list, but either way, it is worth the bloody wait. So
yes, get them told, Karl. I love it, yeah. And I just say as well, people, if you have resonated with any of this or are interested in more of what I do, or you want to check if Success School is open, best place to connect would be grab me on Instagram. That's kind of like my main place that I'm active. So they just, again, I don't know if you can put it in the show notes, but if they just head on Instagram now, Matt Hall, which is my name, official, which is cheesy, I know, but I just wrote it years ago and it's stuck. So Matt, well,
you are Hall, a TV celeb.
Oh, I know. Tell me about it. So yeah, if people just, if they want to get me on there, and I always say when I'm on shows like this, I always say, like, do come and connect with me, drop me a DM. I think it's very easy for us to get into that habit of just listening to a guest every week on a different show and just sort of passively listening instead of going, actually, if something's resonated that I've said, there might be an opportunity for us to work together, to collaborate. Who knows? But come and actually build a relationship with me, because as I said a minute ago, that is what business is about. And if you're serious about building your business, now I've got an amazing network of people. There might be stuff we can do together. So do drop me a follow and drop me a DM. Let me know that you've listened to this and we can have a chat.
Take action. We were talking about taking action before, whether it feels right or uncomfortable. Absolutely take action. There should be nothing that feels uncomfortable at all when dealing with Matt, trust me.
That's it. There you go.
Even though, he's got to get his Guinness World Record back again, which should be an action that you're taking, Matt.
Do you know, I've got a book coming out in a few months, and it's the first book that I have written. So that's going to be a big launch. We're going to put a lot into that. I've got some new stuff coming out in the new year. I'm going for my biggest course launch in February. So there genuinely is a lot I'm cramming into a short space of time. And maybe I could do it on the anniversary next July, maybe. Because I am open. Like I want to go for it. Because I'll be honest, I'll let you into a little secret. I think the record at the time was 52 hours. So the aim was just like, get over that and you've broke the record. And we went to like 53 in 1 minute. And at the time, my cousin was doing it with me and he went, I'm done now, mate. We've done it. We've done what we came here for. And I'll be honest, I was like, what? Like, what? Why are we stopping? Like, it didn't make sense to me to stop when we'd come so far. I wanted to be like, can we do 55? Can we do 60? Who knows? Like, we're setting a world record. We don't just break the last geezers by an hour and call it quits. That wasn't my mentality. So I always felt a bit like, we could have maybe, who knows? We could have done 100 hours. I don't know. And I feel like that. I feel a bit disappointed. And now so I think we did it in 2020 or 2021. And I think we had that record for a few years. And then when I looked recently, I think someone in 2023 or something like that broke it. And I think they only beat us again by an hour. I'm like, what's everyone fanning about doing an hour? I'm like, I want to go all
big.
In.
Go big.
Yeah, that's my mentality. So there is potentially unfinished business. It's just about prioritizing, because it is a big thing to go for. And I've got a lot of exciting opportunities and stuff I'm really grateful for in my business at the moment. So I want you to know, It's not a case of me being a fanny and saying, oh, no, I don't want to do it. I am game. It's just the timing has to be right.
Well, watch out. Watch this space. I'll hold you to account.
Yeah.
When did you say the anniversary was again of the?
It was July. So if the diary works, that would be a nice time, I think. And what will that be? That will be like 6 years, something like that. So I would be down for that.
We'll see. Matt, listen, thank you so much for coming on, sharing your thoughts, your insights, your little anecdotes, your world record, and your commitment to going with the world record again in July next year. I won't hold you to account on that.
That's what I said.
Yeah, I'm paraphrasing.
I feel you are. But yeah, let's see.
It's been amazing to have you on, and all of the contact details for Matt Success School will be in the show notes. Please do go and check it out. And all that's left for me to say really is thanks again, Matt. It's been an absolute pleasure and an honor, mate.
Likewise. Thank you, Karl. Cheers, man.
And for everybody else, I hope you've enjoyed today's episode, full of insights. See you next time. That's it for this episode of Coach Fireside Chat. If you found value in today's episode, please be sure to follow or subscribe so you never miss an insight-packed conversation. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe for more real talk on coaching. And don't stop there. Check out other fantastic episodes where I sit down with more incredible coaches who are out there making a real impact. Thanks for tuning in.